Nebraska men's basketball falls 76-50 in disappointing fashion.
Great prediction yesterday I made.
Yeah, I'm okay with it because I think I was on board with something similar as well. I did not expect a 26-point loss from Nebraska.
Okay. Yeah, I predicted 71-64. Great prediction.
I'm
done with it.
You say you don't do predictions unsolicited, but you did one yesterday.
All right. You were there.
Yeah. So I was there. Just overall feeling about it. Late arriving crowd, which I was a little surprised about. I think that just must be a PBA thing, must just be a Nebraska basketball thing. Late arriving crowd. I heard
good crowd though.
Yeah, good crowd. Eventually, 2 minutes into the ball game, it was full. It was jam-packed. Students still aren't back, so that plays a factor, I think.
Jam-packed,
full.
Okay.
Same difference. Wasn't an announced sellout. They said there was 15,000 plus there. There was more at the Iowa game, but it is what it is. So either way.
So it wasn't jam-packed.
It was not jam-packed. It was full.
Okay.
It was full, Sip.
Okay.
So the lower bowl was packed.
Okay.
The 200s, 300s were not. So Nebraska loses 76-50 in a game where in the first half, I mean, there was zero offense.
For Nebraska.
I would argue for Illinois as well. They started 1 of 11 from 3, Sip.
Yeah.
And Nebraska couldn't do anything, whether it was Derek Walker on offense, whether it was
Derek Walker got in foul trouble.
He did.
He did. Yeah.
In a game that there were 24 fouls in the first half.
Yeah. I think 38 total.
Yeah. And this one seems to have worried people a little bit about what this means for the rest of the season.
Well, yeah.
I think this one worries because not only last night's game was it where Nebraska shoots 37% from the field, 20 of 54. They shoot 4 of 14 from beyond the arc and 6 of 11 from the free throw line. Now, when you think about that,
I'm thinking
not good, right? 55% from the charity stripe. Illinois necessarily didn't shoot the lights out either. A team that is usually a pretty strong shooting team from beyond the arc shot 8 of 29 last night. And as I mentioned, they started 1 of 11.
Okay.
Nebraska, 17 turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what was the most alarming thing for me last night while I was watching it happen. Nebraska would get it within single digits, and then towards the later stages of the game, they'd get it close to 10, close to 11, 11-point deficit, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And it was careless ball handling mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, dare I say, uncharacteristic so far from this season, from this team. I mean, you had Emmanuel Bandamel just dribbling it into no man's land, trying to split the double team. You had CJ Wilcher, who dribbled it off his knee with 5 seconds left to go in the first half with a wide open lane.
Okay.
It was unfortunately just a careless basketball game that Nebraska, a team that usually thrives off of their effort, and that's how they stay in games.
Okay.
When their leader, Derek Walker, goes out and they have the 5 out there on the floor of CJ Wilcher, I suppose Sam Griesel, and Denham Dawson, Jamarcus Lawrence, and Wilhelm Breidenbach.
Trouble.
It's tough to find somebody to spark that.
This was, I mean, obviously the night's disappointing, but the thing that people are going to get, we have to watch it as a talk show analysts. We have to watch it because we're a little up and down with this team.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it driving here because I can't come on. I mean, it's hard for me to come on the radio and rip this team because we've said so many good things about its toughness.
Yeah.
It's chemistry. I mean, they're just coming off an excellent road win, which we had resounding praise for at Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And then to come back now, and it's going to be confusing to listeners, Nick, if we come back and sound the alarms about the season, where just a couple days ago or yesterday, we were talking about what? What were we talking about, Nick? We were talking about postseason chances. Now, it would be a little bit, I will just say irresponsible If we come on here and say, "Oh, they're in trouble," this team's in trouble. Well, what? Because of one loss?
Well, I think you look at this game and you look at how it unfolded, possibly.
Well,
so we always talk about they've gotten blown out before. This is the problem, they've gotten blown out. Well, you look at the Kansas State game. Kansas State just beat Oklahoma State at home last night to improve to 15-1.
Okay, so what are you saying?
You look at Michigan State; they just won on the road at Wisconsin yesterday, a top 20 program. Those are games that you look back and their losses. They're losses to pretty competent basketball programs.
Really?
And that's nothing against Illinois last night.
Illinois is competent.
But Sip, let me tell you, when the fans are taken out of the game within the first 5 minutes, not because of how well Illinois is playing, but because of how bad you're playing at home.
Oh, I get it.
That's an issue.
No, it's an issue. Well, of course it's an issue. This game is definitely troubling. I'm just wrestling with this notion of how we can be so up and down in these discussions.
Oh, I understand.
And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy. Do you like this team or not? I mean, we really liked it after Minnesota, and we thought, okay, this team can do something. Mm-hmm. So I would just care. Well, if you just want to get to my thought on it, it's confusing. This game was confusing, except it's not confusing that we know Derek Walker got in foul trouble, and that hurt. And we know that Rashawn Gary injured his shoulder late in the first half and missed the entire second half. Now, what's not confusing is those two elements. We know that if Derek Walker gets in foul trouble and is only able to score 5 points, which that's what he ended up with, that's trouble. We know I've talked about, I guess I talked about with Strick. What's that young fellow's name? Austin?
Yeah.
I talked about it with them yesterday. I said, you can't lose to injury Gary, Greasel, Bandamel, or Walker. Okay, so they lost Gary to a shoulder injury, didn't play the second half. They lost him. That's trouble. Now, I don't know what that long-term prognosis is. Walker's out. Okay, that's bad. Now, if people are sounding the alarms a little bit, which I did get some text like that last night, I understand because the schedule going forward, of course, it's tough. This is the Big Ten, but they're in a rugged stretch. Yeah. This is Fred. This is the type of stretch now that will keep a coach up at night. Okay, they go next to Purdue. Okay, Nebraska. Now this is why. I'm going to be very careful here, not to be an alarmist. But now Nebraska's 2-4 in the league,
9-8 overall.
Headed to Purdue, third-ranked Purdue. Then Ohio State comes in here January 18th. Okay, Ohio State's playing well. Then you go to Penn State, which is playing well, tough. Then you have Northwestern playing well. What's Northwestern in the league? 3-1. Northwestern surprisingly strong start in the league, 3-1. Then you go to Maryland. Then you go to Illinois. It just doesn't let up.
No,
it doesn't let up. Now, are you going to get Gary back?
That's the thing. And Fred Hoiberg said last night that they don't know the status of Juwan Gary, but that he was in, quote, a lot of pain.
Yes, he was. I saw it,
and you could tell. And he was screaming at PBA on the floor. He was hurting.
He was going for a rebound, and the Illinois player, kind of he was going for a rebound with an Illinois player, and his arm got bent back. He's already got that shoulder sleeve on there,
little brace thingy.
Yeah. So he must have a previous injury.
Well, he heard it in the early in the season against UNO.
Okay,
that kept him out for a couple games. Kept him out of time. Just tough.
Here's the thing. Here's how I summarize this before we get to the text line. That game was thoroughly disappointing and confusing to me.
Yeah.
Confusing. How they looked flat. Illinois had more bounce.
Yeah.
Illinois had more bounce.
Yep.
Hawkins, that Terrence
I
Shannon.
was gonna say Terrence Shannon's an NBA type player.
Okay, that's an interesting. God, it's fascinating you said that because
He
I was
is,
laying in bed last night contemplating that. I'm not positive about that.
the way that he was able to win Nebraska in the moments that, and then maybe this is one person or one thing that Nebraska lacks. Maybe that's what I realized also.
What's up?
When things are going poorly,
Mm-hmm.
who takes over and rights the ship?
Well, they don't have that player,
and so that's
they don't have a
interesting.
great player.
And now, and here's the deal: like with Illinois, when Nebraska cut it to 34-29 right out of the second half, who had the basketball? Terrence Shannon. Did he score? No. Maybe he didn't score or try to put up a shot every time, but there was a calming presence out there for Illinois.
Yeah.
And how was Illinois able to end the game on a 17-1 run? Terrence Shannon.
Terrence Shannon ends with 25 points. Terrence Shannon is like a 6'6" athletic guard.
Very body type, which is a big thing in the NBA.
He does. He's very left-hand dominated, but he can go right. But he'll drive with a right-hand dribble, then shoot with his left. He likes to go left. He was 10 for 17 from the field, hit a couple threes, 11 rebounds. Yeah, he had a big game, 4 assists. Terrence Shannon was a difference maker. But okay, first of all, they're a little better than I thought they were. Illinois came in here 1-3 in the Big Ten, but they're a little better than I thought. Shannon, I don't know. We don't have to get into as a Shannon NBA player or not. I'm not convinced he is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
I think personally for me, and now this is basic, I suppose, but off the eye test, off of just watching, there's guys that glide and move differently.
He does.
Right. And Terrence Shannon's one of those guys.
I'll give you that. Now you asked the question, who does Nebraska go to? Does Nebraska have someone to go to? Well, yeah, they kind of do in Walker. Right now,
when you have
they did Minnesota
270-pound danger, that's when you struggle. When you're going up against 270-pound danger. Now, what Derek Walker should have tried, Derek Walker was going to be able to beat him off the first step.
Walker has beaten 7-footers this year.
I understand that, but 270 pounds.
Yeah, that guy's big. He's big.
Derek Walker finished with 5 points, was 2 of 7.
No, you're right. The big man for Illinois was they were very intent, and the big man for Illinois was intent, obviously, on holding down Walker. They did a good job. Illinois did a good job.
I think overall, before we get to break here,
we gotta go to break
here pretty soon to get to Sean Callahan of Husker Online. I think I sat there and I called into the basketball post-game show last night, and I said something along the lines of, when you talk about expectations for Nebraska, it's always great to obviously think about NIT, NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
For me, it's, did you get a day one bye in the Big Ten basketball tournament?
Okay. Did
you have to play on Wednesday?
Okay.
Or have to play on the first day? And this feels like a game against Illinois where Nebraska is going to be, they have the opportunity to hover around 500 overall and be kind of in the middle to lower pack of the conference.
Okay.
They have an opportunity. They could be a fringe, fringe date, like playing on day 2 instead of day 1 or being back and forth. This could be a game where we look back and say Nebraska, ahead of the gauntlet that they're about to enter, would have liked to have this one against Illinois.
Yeah.
A giant,
I don't disagree at all.
Giant missed opportunity.
Yeah, well, yeah. And again, thoroughly disappointing. And I would still say confusing. I was confused much of the game watching it. I watched them against Minnesota. They go on the road and get that nice win.
Yeah.
Seemed flat in front of a packed house. It doesn't add up.
Well, and
it doesn't add up, except Illinois came to play.
Well, and so here, I'll tell you this, Sip. They're number 24 for Illinois, Michael Mayer.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Matthew Mayer, not Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer is the Notre Dame tight end. Matthew Mayer.
John Mayer is the vocalist.
The singer.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. There was a lot of Illinois media in town last night. And there was one of them sitting a couple cheers down from all of us.
Okay.
And Matthew Mayer, when Nebraska cut it to 5,
okay,
Matthew Mayer hits 2 corner threes back to back. His only 2 threes of the entire game.
Oh, yeah.
The Illinois media member, the guy that writes up for the newspaper up there in Champaign, looks at us and goes, that's the only reason he's in the game. And we said, what do you mean? Shooting 70% from the corner.
Is that
from
right?
three.
Is that right? Yeah.
And he said that's the only reason he's in the game. And if you watched it when Illinois was on offense, that man went corner to corner. That's all it is. That's all it was.
Fascinating.
He shot a three from the wing, bricked it.
Yeah.
Complete brick.
Yeah, he did. That's
shot,
right.
Shot corner threes back to back, drilled them. And so he said that's the only reason he's in the game is because he shoots 70% from the corner this season.
Illinois comes in and wins 76-50. Nobody, come on. This is not what anybody expected.